And welcome to the Miss Rolling In podcast. As usual, my name is Jacob Staten, and as usual, I'm joined by JJ Armstrong. JJ, as usual, are you okay as usual?
As usually, I am fantastic. I think I'm okay.
You're okay.
I think I'm okay. It's been a great and not so great period of time since we last recorded the podcast for Nottingham Forest. I think I've settled down. How are you?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think anybody listens to this, and you'll know as well, I'm fairly level-headed when it comes to Forest results, but the blood did get a little bit boiling on Saturday afternoon. But I think before we pick up with the West Ham game, we'll just really briefly cover off the Man City game, because and this is a very small plug. We did do a vlog for the Man City game, so if anyone's interested in some kind of greater in-depth insight, I'm not going to say knowledge or anything like that, into the Man City game, you can find that on our YouTube page as well.
Just to nip in there, it's youtube.com/missrollingin-pod. For those of you that listen and don't subscribe to our YouTube, please head over and subscribe, because we're nearing 700. So please, it would be fantastic of you.
Be sensational.
Just search Miss Rolling In podcast as well, and you'll probably find us. So thanks for that.
So the Man City game, it was everything I expected, apart from the 6-0 scoreline that didn't come our way. I mean, I think it's fair to say Kevin De Bruyne wasn't at his best. I mean, he did actually miss the next game, which was the Tuesday after the Saturday through illness, which I don't think anybody would find surprising. Same with Aymeric Laporte as well. But Erling Haaland missed. Well, he hit the crossbar and then put the ball over the bar. Phil Foden fluffed that one-on-one, which I think he should have shot by the time he got so close to Navas, but obviously saw a 3-time European Cup winner in goal and thought, oh God, and pooped himself. The ball across to Haaland was terrible. Great defending by Felipe, though. Great anticipation. They did all the things Man City do. They dominate the ball. They're really sharp, lots of fluid movements, but I just don't think we were really tested. Having watched their goal back, which was a stunning strike by Bernardo, I think the referee probably should have stopped play for a free kick our way for an accidental kick in the head of Joe Worrell. I didn't see it at the time, but on replay and listening to Steve Cooper, that absolutely should have been stopped and brought back for us. Yet another situation where VAR just doesn't work. But it's no less than they deserved in reality. But then the further the game went on, staying at only 1-0, and the chances they did miss, you can't help but have belief. And then kind of, I think as our goal was building up, a 20-pass move, all 11 players touched the ball. The 1-2 between Johnson and Morgan Gibbs-White doesn't get spoken about enough, especially that last little pass from Johnson around the defender. Kind of my jaw was dropping progressively. I kind of struggled to celebrate at first, because it was like watching the team in blue playing in red, if you know what I mean. And a wonderful tap in at the back post. I was a bit worried about offside, but looking on the replays afterwards and matching day and that kind of thing, it wasn't even close. I don't know what VAR we're looking at, but yeah, it was just a really fantastic day, a great atmosphere. The ground really kicked up another notch after the equaliser, and just a wonderful performance. And unless you're looking at possession stats, no less than what we deserved, in my opinion. JJ, what do you think?
I think we played it perfectly. I think my expectations heading into the game was very much keep it under 6, and we've improved. Just show a little bit of fight, and we've improved. And I think we did that. We showed great resilience. I think on another day, we could be looking at a 4 or 5-0 scoreline. I know they didn't take chances, but a lot of the game City did. They were quite fascinating to watch, really. It was just almost incredible to just see them walking it and playing some lovely stuff. And we had to be defensively smart, and we were. But as you said, the more the game went on, the more you think, hang on a second, something's going to happen here. And once we scored, the atmosphere within the stadium is, I think, one of the best I've seen this season. I think it was exciting, it was nervy, and before we scored, I was very much under the impression of, if we lose this 1-0, what a result this is. Like, what a great performance to take into sort of the rest of the season. Look how you played against Man City. you were able to hold them to a 1-0. The fact that we got a point out of that, even better. And I think that should be the springboard for, right, now you've beat Liverpool, you've drawn against Chelsea, and you've drawn against Man City at home this season. So who is there to fear in the rest of the league now? Nobody is the answer. So great springboard, and I thought it would give us a lot of confidence heading into the West Ham game. What a day. And I think Steve Cooper played it perfectly. He played the subs well. They came on at the right time. He set up well, and yeah, great day. And I'm amazed we got a point against City. So all in all, you can't really ask for more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was a great decision as well to play. Just can't get enough. I know it wasn't a win, but kind of positive atmosphere, keep the bounce going almost. So yeah, great decision.
A positive result, I think, needs that. And I think if you're getting a point against Man City, it absolutely needs that. And everyone around us was dancing, including myself. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I did enjoy that.
Absolutely. So this takes us into the West Ham game, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I thought we were gonna win. I thought we'd put in a decent performance, and maybe like the Fulham game where we go down and we snatch one back type thing. I was only listening to the game because I did have to get my hair cut rather than watch it, which I know you were, JJ. I think I don't want to say we held on in the first half, but I think it was very much we were not on top. It was very much a West Ham on top. And then very much back to the start of the season where we've just capitulated after the first goal goes in. I mean, I watched the goals back on Match of the Day the next morning. I think the first goal was just a very good pass. Sound odd, but quite unlucky that Nico Williams was so closely marking his man, because if he hadn't stepped back to mark him, he would have been offside. It's a nothing comment really, I suppose. The second goal, very unlucky that it comes off Loddy and goes in after the terrible touch from Ings rather than bouncing back out and somebody can claim it. The third goal, it's just a really wonderful strike from Declan Rice. Again, what more can you do? And then the fourth goal was the one that really, really upset me. Just sloppy defending. I think it's Pablo Fornals or Paulo Fornals, I don't know which one. He kind of half-hearted attempt to take it round someone. He gets it back. It's really sloppy playing in the right back position. He then chips a decent-ish ball towards the back post. Mikel Antonio just wanted it more than all our defenders, and that was the disappointing thing for me, really. It was just a really, really sloppy, rubbish goal to concede, and just rounded off a really poor 20 minutes in a game that could be crucial towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I did watch it, and for the first 70 minutes, whilst you could argue that we were holding on, in a game of this magnitude, away from home, that's all we really needed to do. We had the formula there to hold on and get at least a point. If not, make the right decisions to snatch it at the end. And 70th minute onwards was just utterly pathetic. Yeah. And I know that might sound really harsh and negative, but I think it was just completely, it was just pathetic. It was soft-bellied, and it was a bit of a hark back to the way we were towards the start of the season. It felt like most of the progress that we had made had been undone, and it's really difficult to say that straight after talking about what we just did at home against Man City, because I think you look at that team that played against Man City, largely the same, but that home form and that team keeps us up. You look at the performance against West Ham, and that team and that performance puts us in danger of going down. So it is wild that is the same team. It does almost feel like two different teams, and I think we were nearly there. We had 70 minutes, we were nearly there, and I think they hit the post or the crossbar or something. I can't remember, but still, we were holding on. And the decision to bring Shelvey off, I think, was always going to need to happen, because I don't think he's a 90-minute player at the minute, which is fine. I just think a like-minded, similar player being brought on was the right decision to make. I think bringing on, I believe it was Ayew and Lingard, I might be wrong in that, but that just completely changed it. And I think Unfortunately, there was a pause because of the keeper being injured, which I just think we switched off from then on. I feel like we were starting to get a bit of momentum in the game, and the keeper being injured and the changes just didn't help us, and we capitulated. That's the only way to put it, and it is pathetic. Chris Wood, to me, this is why it's difficult to say, because in this game, I don't think he's a starter, and I would point to Chris Wood and say he's not good enough. The Chris Wood that came on against Man City, I would say he's done enough to maybe warrant a start with his cameo there. So that's why it's difficult to balance, because it does feel like two completely different teams. So I think all in all, a lot of lessons will be learnt from that, and Steve Cooper will certainly not be happy. And I think, and I hope he's not happy with himself, because I think he made the wrong call there. But equally, it is on the players to stay focused and not just fall under when he does try and go for a game. So away form needs to be addressed. However, whilst that sounds completely negative, everything I've just said, and I've used words like pathetic, this is why I think I've settled down a little bit, because I was on my walk yesterday and I was thinking, if someone came up to me 2 weeks ago and said, all right, mate, you've got Man City and West Ham coming up, would you take 1 point from those two games? I'd have gone, absolutely. I'll take the points coming against West Ham, because I don't think we're getting anything from City, because that was a free hit. So in reality, when you think about it, whilst watching it was frustrating and it wasn't good enough, it hasn't set us back as much as I think maybe it felt like on the Saturday, because of the point that we got against City. So that's why I've settled down a bit, because I think it's not all negative. We were luckily digged out by the performance we did the week before. Yeah. But all in all, it was pathetic is the only word I can use to describe it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it probably says more about how far we've come rather than that singular performance, doesn't it? Like, we are better than that, as opposed to, crikey, O'Reilly, this keeps happening. Because the away form was starting to tighten up. But yeah, it was frustrating, really, really frustrating, especially because we get so far into the game at 0-0. I know, listening to Steve Cooper's post match, he was saying about just that desire to want to stay in the game, and then Colin Frey was saying, we've scored 3 away goals all season, so whatever happens, you've got to be tight at the defensive end, because for whatever reason the goals aren't happening at the attacking end. So there's a few things happening into it, but I think it puts a lot of unwanted pressure into the Everton game on Sunday, which is, again, it's probably gone up another notch, hasn't it? Especially after they lost to Villa at the weekend. I think they've got Everton this week, midweek, haven't they? So they've got Arsenal again, haven't they?
Tonight, As we record this podcast, it's Wednesday, so Everton are playing Arsenal tonight, which is probably quite good for us. Quite a difficult game, unless they get a result, in which case it makes Saturday even worse.
Sunday, but it's going to be a wildly interesting game, I think, given the way that we, it's well documented how Sean Dyche likes to not play football. But it's and the way that Steve Cooper will want to play football in that game, knowing that we're probably going to have a bit more of the ball. So it's going to be a very interesting game to watch for sure. I'm still confident we'll get a win. The home form is what the home form is, isn't it? We grind these games out, we get something. Obviously, just with the added pressure that a win in this game isn't 3 points, it's 6 points in reality, isn't it? But I'd still rather be where we are right now, which is 13th, and is it 3 points clear of relegation?
4.
3 or 4? Is it 1?
4.
4 points, yeah. Bournemouth lost, didn't they? I'd still rather be exactly where we are in 13th, 4 points clear of relegation, than where West Ham are.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I think we have made life difficult for ourselves. We've made Sunday must win. I know every game in the Premier League typically is must win, but the narrative itself for this Sunday with who we're playing and everything makes it a bit more difficult. Sean Dyche and Mr. Wone have had the pleasure of studying Forest for the entire season, as I think they've been to every Forest home game as Forest fans. So Forest will probably be the team they're most familiar with within the Premier League, of how they're set up, and particularly how they're set up at home. So I don't think it's going to be a great game because of that, and I think they're going to set up to frustrate us and to sort of try and nullify anything that makes Forest strong at home, which for many reasons is getting the crowd on side. And once you start to frustrate the fans, you can sort of feel it within the ground. So I think it's going to be more nervy as well because of the impact that the result might have. So I think it's going to be a really painful game to watch. I would take a point. However, we really need to be aiming to take all three here.
Yeah.
And I think we get all three and everything at West Ham's forgotten. When you look at, we've got 4 points out of City, West Ham and Everton.
Stab your hand off.
Yeah, we lose this game and we're straight back into the deep end in trouble, and we're gonna have to pick up some results away, be that draws or not. We've still got some very, very difficult fixtures upcoming. We're not out of the woods, and I know some of the relegation contenders have really difficult run-ins. I think Everton and Bournemouth in particular are really difficult, but it's must win so we don't get dragged back down into that. And I know even if we do win, that doesn't mean we're not part of that whole battle.
The momentum is
but
there.
We can look at its mindset, isn't it? You can look at upwards rather than downwards. So yeah, it's going to be an awful game. I still think we'll win. I'm really hoping for a 2-0. I'd like to see us score a goal or two just to prove that we can score more than one. And I do hope that if the worst happens and we go down, our heads don't fall off. It doesn't seem to happen at home so far in the last few games. Look at City, of course, but after what's happened against West Ham, I really hope that doesn't happen. And after what happened against Leicester, we came back stronger. So fingers crossed that's your team talk, and that's all the incentive you need to push on.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going 2-0. I'm going to go 3-1. I want to see some goals. I think maybe go 1 or 2 up, get pegged back, and then round it off nicely with a counter-attacking goal maybe towards the end. But yeah. So if you're listening for the first time, thank you very much for joining us and finding us. And if you've come back again and again and again, we love you. You're it.